Hi, this is Marcel of Marcel on Tech, and today I'm talking about what are, firstly, my favorite phones in the world at the moment from the same brand. And actually, these are also clearly your favorite as well, because some of my most popular videos are based on these incredible devices. This is the Honor Magic V3. And this is the Honor Magic V5. There is no V4 because in China, apparently 4 is an unlucky number. So, or at least it translates as such. So they went straight from the 3 to the 5. And I want to talk to you about whether or not there is a big enough difference between these two phones to warrant what is effectively double the price, because you can now get this phone for 800 euros. This phone, the V5, still costs 1,600 euros. That's if you buy it refurbished or if you get it from the company themselves. I want to talk to you about which way is best to do and whether or not you should actually just get the V3 if that is what you want, because there just might not be enough of a difference. Let's talk about it. Okay, so first and foremost, these are the Honor devices and they are folding devices. So if you're unfamiliar and you're watching this channel for the first time, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. And if you're considering a foldable device for the very first time, I cannot recommend these ones enough. Now, I've tested the Samsung folding devices. I haven't yet tested Google's, but I just don't think it's good enough yet. And I haven't been able to get hold of a Vivo folding phone either, because for some reason in Spain, they're quite hard to get hold of. So by comparison, my basis of comparison, should I say, is Samsung, which is one of the biggest, broadest companies, particularly in foldable tech, and this Honor device, which is widely available throughout Europe. When they entered the market with the VS, they called it, which was their first version, that was a good phone. I got the V2. I sent that back actually. Then I got the V3, which is this one. This one comes in a beautiful alpine green, and it is really, really nice. Now, the first thing you will notice when we look at both of these devices is the design. The design on both of these, is absolutely brilliant. There is a version of the V3 that comes with a faux leather red back. If you watch the video up here, you'll see when I had that device. And it came with gold trim on the outside as well, much like this version, the new version. And it came with a really nice feature on the hinge here as well. Absolutely gorgeous. But this one, even the sort of fairly toned down green one, it comes in black as well, but the toned down green one is absolutely brilliant. And it's just such a well designed and well engineered piece of kit. Are the Honor V5 and the Honor Magic V3. First and foremost, let's take a little look around the design. So the original one, so the V3 here, is, in my impression, most importantly, slimmer from a camera standpoint. If you look at the width of the cameras, this bad boy is almost twice as thick just because of the camera bump. But there is a very good and legitimate reason why that is the case, because this camera is the one thing that let this phone down. In my opinion, this is such a good foldable device. In my opinion, the camera really let it down because it was just not up to par with what you'd expect for what was originally a 1,600 euro device and is now much, much cheaper. You can get this device now for 800 euros at a good price, because it does still have the periscope lens. It has still got some really good cameras in here, but it does need good light. The other problem that we found very often with the V3, and a little bit less so, but still a bit of a problem with the V5, is the over AI saturation and cartoonifying, which is unfortunately a very common Chinese technique that they do after the photo is taken. It's basically overly processed, and therefore it does look a little bit cartoony when you really look closer or zoom in. However, this is not a bad camera. It is, I would say, a B- camera, which is what really let it down. But everything else is so good. Now, if we go over to the V5, then we can see here that the camera they really listened to, and so therefore created all the space they needed to really put in some amazing telescope lensing here, and also the 50 megapixel lenses as well. This is really a tremendous camera. They've improved this. Now, again, it is not perfect software implementation, and it does look a little bit cartoony, but I find that it's less so from the V3. And so there is better computation and better light absorption as well, which I think has made a huge difference both to the recording of video and photos as well. The wide angle lens is really, really good. The zoom process is also extremely reliable and very, very smooth. And I do have to say, the key to this device, particularly with the V5, is you're going to use this device like a regular candy bar phone most of the time. The shape and dimensions of this is ever so slightly different to this one. You can't even really see it that much on camera, but this V5 is slightly wider than the V3, and that is what makes all the difference for me. I think they actually improved it almost perfectly. And so therefore, when you're using the V5, you are going to be basically using it like any other candy bar phone that you would use, from an iPhone to any other Honor phone, etc. But this, the beauty of this is that when you want to, when you need to, you have the choice to open it up to that real estate. Now, that rule applies to both of these devices. They are absolutely brilliant panels. They really are. They are fantastically sharp, very, very clear. They can go all the way up and down from the LTPO screen. So the hertz rate is absolutely crispy. What you've already probably noticed is that the fingerprint sensor is wicked fast. So you just touch it, it's locked, you just lightly glaze, and there you go. It is already open, and it is a brilliant, brilliant fingerprint sensor. So what they did do that was a slight shift, which I don't necessarily think was a good idea, was you can see the volume rocker on the V3 is on the opposite panel, and on the V5 it's on the same side as the power button. Now, I actually prefer it here, because if you do have this open, and let's say you have a half screen situation going on, it's actually more useful to have the volume rocker up here. So if you're watching a YouTube video or something like that, then it's nice to have the volume rocker up here, which is really, really handy. But it's not the end of the world, because of course you can get used to using it like so, and then having the volume rocker here instead. So that is not the end of the world. It's down here now, but I did prefer it, I have to say, being over this side, but it doesn't make a huge difference. But again, I do really, really like the design. My preference as well is what they've done with this brushed gold metal is so cool. So if you look closely at it, you can actually see that it has brushes of production there, which is seriously, seriously cool. And I really like, again, the feature. So this for me is almost like a work of art, to be honest. And in the hand, it just feels so solid and so quality that it really is a very, very impressive piece of engineering. Now, you've got exactly the same feeling with the V3. It's just a tiny bit narrower. So I would say that they have improved upon the V3, which is fantastic. They've listened to what people wanted, better cameras, maybe slightly wider front screen here. And they've done those things. Everything else works really, really well. And what they have improved, of course, fundamentally is the camera, which for me is a deal breaker and one of the reasons I didn't keep the V3 originally. And now it is just a brilliant, brilliant device. Now, the only other thing to really discuss is the software. The difference between the two is really marginal. There's very little difference between these two. This one is on the Magic OS operating system, Magic OS version 9.0.1. And the V3 is on 9.0. So very, very few differences. The main difference, I would say, with how they operate is you've got a slightly new feature with the lock screen, which is pretty cool. But other than that, the functionality is almost exactly the same. And you have these magic lock screen features here, and they are pretty cool. And that really is the fundamental difference. They've implemented it More so here with lots more flexibility and variability on the V5, and the V3 has still got this older format, but I dare say it'll probably be coming to the V3 eventually. They always roll out to the new devices first, and it's not a deal breaker in any way. So it really, really is a fantastic device that, again, you have this pull-out menu, which is reminiscent of Samsung's One UI, and it is very, very helpful. You can obviously edit this to your liking to be whatever it is you want it to show. And this magic portal is very clever because now you can draw circles, of course, around certain things, and you can drag these over to the other ones. You can feed it straight into these quick links here. It just is so clever and user-friendly. I really, really like the software. I think what they've done is very, very good, very reliable. I've had no app crashes. And the other final thing that might be worth discussing is the battery life. I can get through an entire day with either one of these with heavy use, and I will still have battery at the end of the day. The most important thing to any user, I think, is whether or not you're going to actually get through your day with enough battery. And that is the most important thing. And both of these devices have got better. They always start off a little bit ropey to begin with because, of course, they are upgrading, downloading, preparing, understanding your usage, and then they get better and better with time. So it is absolutely brilliant. I've been very pleased. And what I would suggest is if you want a foldable phone, this is the one to go for first of all. And when you want the best of the best, you go for the V5.